It is Monday, April 11, and right now we're going to talk photos for Mac, we're going to talk the new MacBook, and we're going to talk the Apple Watch try-ons. This is the iMore Show. Joining me this week, we have Ali Kazmucha, all the way from Long Beach, Chicago, Indiana. How you doing, Ali?
I'm good. There's not snow outside, so that's a good day.
Yeah, it melted here too. It was snowing here on Thursday, but it's all melted now. I know. It's just wrong.
Ours is finally completely melted. There's some green now, so it stays that way.
All right, we'll hope. Peter Cohen, how are you doing on the COD?
Doing quite well, getting some nice fresh air before our podcast, and loving the fact that it's not snowing outside.
And you took off your Anime Boston kaiju suit for the podcast. We're touched.
That's true. But I'm willing to put it back on. It depends on whether or not our podcast viewers want to see me in my sexy kaiju costume.
And also joining us, Serenity Caldwell. Have you unmelted yet?
I have unmelted. It was 71 degrees outside. I was just working on the porch, which is very exciting.
I remember porches. They're like this distant dream.
They're beautiful, but they exist, and they're warm.
I know. All right, so we have so much to go over. We're going to dive right into it. Apple released Photos for Mac last Tuesday, and what was the grand total? Does anyone remember? Was it like 55 how-to articles, 3 guides, review, and some ancillary explainers? Is that the damage we did?
And a partridge and a pear tree.
And we have more how-tos coming out every day because there are even, despite the fact that you would think that 55 how-tos would answer the questions that everybody has, but no, apparently there are still more questions. So we are providing still more answers bit by bit.
I opened a question and all I found inside was another question.
Pretty much. But I'm really happy with all of the content. And if you're if you're watching the show right now, or if you're listening to the show, and you're curious about using Photos or iCloud Photo Library or iCloud Photo Library for iOS, you should check out our guides because we worked really hard for them or to make them, and they're pretty awesome.
I agree. All right, so let's go around the room really quickly and get some thoughts. Ali, have you been using? I know you've been using it for a while, but now the release version is out. How is Photos and iCloud Photo Library working for you?
It seems a lot faster to sync PhotoStream photos than the beta versions did, and obviously beta. It seems a little zippier in the actual release all around. I still have issues with duplicate photos. Other than that, it's really great. I love the concept. It seems like loading photos on the phone have gotten a lot better. I'd like to see video load times get better, because if you're on LTE, it's less than that, good luck. But it's pretty painful loading videos over iCloud Photo Library, and yeah, you don't really have an all or nothing option, at least yet.
What about you, Peter?
Yeah, I've been using it, since the beta, and I am quite happy with the transition so far. iPhotos, or iPhoto goodbye, Photos hello. It's certainly, I think we've done our best to answer as many of the questions for you as possible. I haven't run into any real showstoppers or bugaboos in quite some time, so I've been very happy with what Apple's done, and I'm sure that Apple will continue to iteratively improve it from here on out.
Ren?
I've been using Photos for quite a few months now. Despite that, I still can't pronounce it properly. But I too am very impressed by how speedy it is. I'm really like being able to quickly look at photos at a moment's glance from 2007 or earlier that I've happened to have stored on like 10 million folders and tiny things. I love being able to sync between my Mac and my phone and just know that all of my information is there, and it's worked pretty seamlessly for me. There's still a little bit of confusion / frustration over duplicates. I had most of my I had no problems with duplicates up until very recently, at which point it became very difficult to get rid of some pesky duplicates and find duplicates because they were showing up in weird places. But I'm hoping that those are kind of like software bugs because iCloud Photo Library kind of does all of that up high. So I'm hoping that kind of gets improved iteratively.
I don't really know if it was the same for everyone, but the photos that I have issues with are the same ones that keep duplicating. It's not like random ones. It's like the same 80 or 90 photos that will duplicate, and then I'll delete them, and then they'll duplicate again later. So it's always like the same set of events, and in the last beta, it actually triplicated those photos. But it's the same set, so it makes me think that it's something software or something that's causing issues with maybe some type of EXIF data that is causing that. Because it's the same photos every time.
I have not been using it hardcore. Like I still have my Aperture library separate, mostly because it's going to be a complete pain in the ass to integrate it because there's no, direct import yet. So I have to delete my current library, merge them all in Aperture, and then bring them back. And I will do this, but I just haven't had time to get around to it yet. But for me, there's a lot of little implementation details I have to fix. There are things like the imports, there are things like deduplication. There are a bunch of little features that I want and little polishes that I'd love to see. But all in all, I think this is finally the right idea. A lot of companies have been trying to offer photo solutions, but they've never just worked the way I wanted them to just work. They always require too much manual maintenance or management or something. And I'm sure Amazon and Google or whatever are rolling their own versions of this as we speak. But this really is set it and forget it for me. I just turn it all on all my devices, and I have access to all the photos in Photos for iOS and Photos for OS X. And even if I upload something on iCloud.com, they're just everywhere, and that makes me so happy because previously they were not where I wanted them when I needed them. Well, I stopped the whole show with that. That's awesome.
Yep, we were all in awe of your photo management solution.
Just don't do anything.
Yeah, no. If you haven't given Photos a chance and you're sort of on the fence, definitely open up a test library. That's definitely possible. You can build a test library by option clicking on Photos, and you can enable iCloud Photo Library on that library by designating the system library, and you can sort of get a sense of what it feels like with a small grouping of photos. And then if you want anything larger than that, then you can consider, okay, well maybe I'll put my full library in and I'll up the storage and I'll pay for the plan. Rene, you and I were talking a little bit about the cost of iCloud Photo Library and how that it seems expensive on paper in front of you, but in reality it may be more on par with the other photo services.
It's expensive in that Apple is charging you full retail price. Like if you go to Apple uses Amazon S3 and Azure to store all the files. They're not doing the actual storage themselves. They're just doing some stuff in the middle. And if you go there and you start pricing out what a terabyte is on Amazon S3 or on Microsoft Azure, it's not inexpensive. It's not super expensive, but it's not inexpensive. What Apple's not doing, which is what some other people do, is they're not using it to fuel a social network. They're not using it to show ads against to sort of defray the cost or subsidize the cost. They're not using your material as ads, and they're not harvesting your data and your demographics and selling those to marketing companies to also defray the cost. If you're okay with those things, and many people are, then it is way cheaper to use someone else's library. You won't get the awesome integration you get, but you'll save a bundle of money. But if your privacy does matter to you, and if you don't mind paying a premium price for the service, then you don't have to worry. Like those photos are your photos, and only you have access to them, you and your iCloud ID. So go ahead, Ellen.
Something that people have to really keep in mind, too, that a lot of the pricing with that, you're paying for convenience, too, because it's not just iCloud Photo Library. It's iCloud altogether. And for me, I don't know if any of you have friends or family members, they'd gladly pay a little bit more to set it and forget it and not have to worry about uploading certain things to Dropbox and storing iCloud data somewhere else or just having iCloud store contacts, calendars, and it's one ID to rule them all. So to me, I think for a lot of people, the convenience factor is a huge thing that maybe justifies the cost.
Yeah, Marcus uploaded, I think, 400 gigabytes of photos over the weekend.
Jeez, yeah, I was debating for a long time because I pay for Dropbox storage currently, and that's where, previous to iCloud Photo Library, all of my photos lived. And at the end of the day, after using the iCloud Photo Library beta, it is very convenient to be able to have all of those photos available to you in a second. And also, the way that iCloud Photo Library allows you to manage your photos with optimized storage and saving certain photos and being able to access low-res versions, I think that's really, really important. Dropbox, of course, you can access those photos, but you need an internet connection unless you specifically tag it as a favorite. And if you tag it as a favorite, it only shows up in your favorites column. You can't really see it. It's not quite as seamless or or note perfect as something like iCloud Photo Library.
That's the point. And this is a conversation we just had with my partner's mom, and it was trying to explain to her that you have to use Dropbox for photos and then back them up, every once in a while or sporadically, or sort them, or you have to have an internet connection, and then saying, or you could pay more and have this, and instantly it was an instantaneous, I'll do that, I don't care.
Throw money at it.
Here and it's in my Photos app, that's what I'll do. So I think that's important to a lot of people.
All right, so I have a couple questions for you guys, mostly because you each sort of focused on something different for this rollout. And I'll start with you, Ren, because you literally wrote the review on it. What was your takeaway at the end of the day on Photos?
I just disabled all of my things. I really like Photos for Mac. I think that it's a lot better of a 1.0 product than Apple's other reimaginings, including iWork and Final Cut and iMovie. And GarageBand, which have all seen sort of reimaginings in the past 5-10 years. Photos takes a lot of all of the good things that we've liked about iPhoto and some of the pro features found in Aperture and kind of meshes it into this wonderful, easy to use by a wide variety of people photo tool. It's not perfect and it's not for everybody, and I think I start off the review by being like, it's not Aperture. If you're looking for Aperture, look elsewhere. This is not the program for you. But that's okay, because I don't think Apple intended it. It's not like, it's very different from the original rollout of Final Cut Pro 10, where it gets rolled out and all of the pros are unhappy because it's missing all of these features, and Apple's like, but no, it's for pros, we'll update it. Photos for Mac may never get brushes or other primo Aperture features that people really wanted to in order to manage their photos. I don't know if Apple ever wants to get back into the pro editing space. They may have seeded it. But what I do think Photos is a fantastic consumer to prosumer tool for people who are beginning photography users, for people who are not necessarily old pros but have some background and want to learn more. It's a very nice and simple way to organize your images, and it provides you with fantastic editing tools, basic editing tools. Again, it's not going to satisfy the proest of pros, but it gives a very nice and intuitive ability to brand new users and sort of burgeoning photographers to edit their photos and have them look fantastic without having to know the nitty-grittiness of, like, what is a white balance, what's levels, what's the difference between brightness and contrast, and what happens if I use these sliders.
No, I think that's exactly right. And Peter, you wrote about that. I think you pointed out that if you're not certain, Apple is not coming to your house, they're not yanking iPhoto and Aperture from your computer and stomping them into the ground and then forcing photos down your throat, at least not yet.
Yeah, seriously, I don't think they'll send the secret police out until at least 2.0, so I think people don't really need to worry about that much. I've written about this a couple of times now because it's something that it's certainly a level of angst that I've seen from some of our readers and some of the people who I interact with on social media networks. You know, as far as that's concerned, Aperture is working fine side by side with Photos, at least for me. And I use Photos as sort of my primary ingestion point for everything, whether it's stuff that I'm syncing through the cloud because I'm getting this stuff from my iPad or my iPhone, or SD cards that I'm inserting from my from my DSLR. All that stuff goes in Photos, and then the stuff I want to add to Aperture, I just use the Add to Aperture share sheet option that's in Photos, and it works great. And I build project libraries in Aperture that way and continue using Aperture. And Aperture is going to work just great throughout Yosemite's run, that's for sure, and we'll see what happens when 10.11 comes out. In the interim, sure, if you want to be investing in a new workflow, if you're a professional photographer or a prosumer, somebody who just spends a lot of time doing this stuff, obviously it wouldn't hurt to look elsewhere, whether that's Lightroom from Adobe or something else. But it's you can maintain status quo right now very easily, and just kind of transition to Photos as it makes sense.
Allie, you've been keeping track of a lot of the troubleshooting. What are you coming across, and how easy has it been to work around?
I won't talk about a lot of the issues with the beta because it was beta. The only issue I'm still really having is the duplicate issue. Like you said, I think there's other little refinements and little things that Apple can do to make it more smooth experience, but overall it's been pretty good. In terms of what readers are confused about, I think
family sharing, I think people are still asking for.
Yeah, well, family sharing, the way that works is if you have a family sharing group, there's a family album that gets dumped into iCloud Photo Library, and I think it actually, well, it gets dumped into the shared section. So iCloud photo sharing is where it goes, and there's no way for you to remove that album. So I don't know. I don't really like that behavior. I wish I could hide it. But if you have family sharing enabled, iCloud photo sharing has you covered there. You can just go into that little shared tab either on iOS, and I think it's labeled shared as well on Photos for OS X. Yeah, it is. And you can just dump photos in there, and everyone in your family sharing group will see that. I think Ren might have wrote a piece on that too.
Yeah, I tag team a little bit with Allie since she has some experience with family sharing. But yeah, we do have a piece available on how to enable family sharing in Photos for Mac or Photos for OS X, as well as how to use shared photo streams to kind of get a similar experience. For people who want to just share their entire library with all their significant others and family, for one thing, I recommend against that, because in general, like, once you have a unified library, that becomes very difficult to...
It's a bad idea.
Yeah, well, it's like, I'm sorry, I love my parents, and, you know, I probably don't take any pictures that they'd be horrified by or anything, but my mother doesn't want to see me take 70 pictures of my boyfriend's dog or cat. Like, they're cute, but I think that might drive her insane.
Her threshold is a dozen.
Yes, exactly. She can sit through like 20 pictures, but...
That's why Apple created iCloud photo sharing. Like,
yes,
that exact type of thing. So maybe I like to see pictures of dogs, and Peter likes to see pictures of cats. So, you know, you can have different albums for different things. If you go on vacation with a group of people, you can create an album where all of you can dump your creative collective pictures in there, and you know, you can sift through them that way. But sharing whole libraries and iCloud IDs, I think family sharing, a lot of the idea behind that was to mitigate people sharing IDs to begin with. So, yeah, it gets very messy when you start sharing IDs. I've had friends who let their parents use them for iTunes, and then they, you know, log in the wrong thing and wipe over people's iCloud backups or delete things they're not supposed to. Have your own ID, and if you want to share photos, use iCloud photo sharing.
Absolutely.
I've just been castigated by Peter again on Twitter for misspelling his impossible to spell Twitter handle.
That poor dude you keep tagging in there is probably like, who keeps telling me I'm podcasting?
He's paying me $10 a mention just for the fame. It's amazing.
Bob Bobbington.
One of the other things, this is in our Q&A section, Hobby, I hope I'm getting that right, is asking this. Have any of you experienced a lot of slowdown with the image picker on iOS? Instagram has been very slow for me since iCloud Photo Library. That's about the only one that I'm having any trouble with. How about you guys?
I think a lot of that has to do with whether or not what you're viewing is getting live streamed into that picker. I've still run into issues with a couple photo apps where I load it and it chokes up for a minute, and then it says this does not support iCloud Photo Library. That should mitigate a lot soon. I would hope developers would start updating that. But I do think a lot of it is, if you're scrolling in time backwards, that's when it starts to get slower for me. So if it's recent pictures that I just took that are probably cached in my device storage, it seems quick. But the further back I scroll, the slower it gets.
Instagram is, yeah, well, I always want to say Instagram should update, but they're very slow. At least Snapseed updated. We have a new version of Snapseed. Congratulations, John.
Awesome, too. And I really want more developers to do what Snapseed did. And when exporting the photo to my camera roll, since apparently what they have an API where they allow them with the extensions kit, you can have the option of saving over the existing photo as a non-destructive edit or duplicating it. And that's one thing that I've always hated, that if I upload a photo to Instagram, now I have two of the same photo in my library. Just give me the option to save over the original if I want.
Yeah, CloudKit, it lets you add yourself to the non-destructive editing pipeline, and then you can go back at any point in time and undo or change the edits you made in that app, and then it behaves all super awesome. So yeah, I hope.
So then if I want a non-square picture later on, even if I saved over it, I can go and revert it back to the original. And
you can unsquarenate it.
I can unsquarenate my pictures.
All right, Peter, any final thoughts on iCloud Photo Library and Photos for now?
Back your stuff up, people. Don't make any changes to your Mac before you back up, please.
Oh, and I should say that if you want to back up your iCloud photo library, if you have a Mac with a beefy hard drive, just check the little box that says download originals to this Mac, and then Time Machine or Backblaze or SuperDuper or any backup solution will just copy that entire directory, and you will be safe and locally sound or cloudly sound.
And you can do what I do and get an additional backup by storing your library in your Dropbox.
I do that as well.
So much the uploads.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. So we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to tell you about one of our favorite things, and that is lynda.com. Lynda.com is for problem solvers. It's for the curious. I would dare say it's for the crazy ones, for people who want to make things happen. Maybe you want to master Excel, learn negotiation tactics, build a website, or boost your Photoshop skills. All you've got to do is go to lynda.com and feed your curious mind. I actually forgot to check before the show whether they had tutorials for Photos up, but if they don't now, I'm sure they will very quickly, because they almost always have stuff day and date, if not week or month in date. They are, once again, the matrix beaming knowledge into your brain in any way that is legally allowed by current nations and governments. Some of the stuff that they're recommending right now: Excel 2013, weekly office workshops going paperless, iPhone and iPad security fundamentals, income tax fundamentals if you're still not filed, growth hacking fundamentals if you want to increase your presence everywhere, if you want to make things bigger and more. Peter, you've used lynda.com before. Any personal favorites?
Let's see. What have I used it? Well, I used Lynda way back in the day the first time for some HTML stuff that I didn't know before, and that was sort of the bread and butter for a while. But that's the thing about Lynda, is that you can find stuff that you didn't know existed. So if you have any interest whatsoever in something on your computer that you're not quite understanding, Lynda's a great place to go.
Yeah, and I'll say this again. I switched because Jason Snell and Dave Wiskus shamed me from using GarageBand into Logic Pro, and I didn't know how to use things. And lynda.com, you don't have to just watch a course. If you have specific questions, you can go right to that thing. Like, I had to learn what a bounce was. Why is it share in GarageBand and bounce in Logic Pro? I do not know, but lynda.com explained to me how to do it. So now I don't need to know. I just suffer with English being English. There's just so much stuff you can actually get to this. iOS development, it's amazing. Anyway. Your lynda.com membership will give you unlimited access to training on hundreds of topics. There's thousands of videos, and it's all for one flat rate. Best of all, whether you're looking to become an industry expert, you're passionate about a hobby, or you just want to learn something new, if you go to lynda.com/iMore, you can sign up for a free 10-day trial. That's free, gratis, no charge, 10 days, more than a week. That is lynda.com/iMore, lynda.com/IMORE. Thanks, Lynda. You are awesome. All right, suivant next, the new MacBook. I have one here. I'll hold it up before Peter starts making nasty faces at me. It is so beautiful. I mean, look, there's no black on the back anymore. It is metal all the way down.
Is that the space gray?
It is.
I saw one of those in the Apple Store today, and it is so much more beautiful in person.
And we can compare it. Here, hold on. I'll hold it. If you're listening to this, I am right now holding up a space gray MacBook, a space gray iPad mini, and a space gray iPhone 6. It is all. It looks like, I don't know, like you're frozen in carbonite, or like you're wearing Mandalorian armor or something.
I just took a picture. I took a screenshot that we can put in the show notes because it is pretty glorious.
Nice. It is really, it is better. I had high hopes for this because every once in a while Apple decides to leap forward in terms of laptop technology. They did it with unibodies. They did it with non-removable batteries. They did it with the original MacBook Air. And they've done it again with this, the Force Touch trackpad, the new keyboard. The USB, I'm going to do this twice in the show, and I apologize for it, but I was really disappointed in a lot of the reviews. Not with the MacBook, but I was disappointed in how the reviews went, because it felt to me like a lot of people reviewed it as whether it would be a good laptop for them or not. And people who are technology writers, as much as we love you, you are not representative of the mainstream. Almost nobody plugs in external monitors. Very few people plug in peripherals. You're talking single-digit percentages for all those things. And I feel like when you're doing a review, you can't just go into a movie and say, well, I didn't like it, nobody should go see it. It's incumbent upon you to do some filtering to say this is a good laptop for these people and a bad laptop for these people, and just clearly try to help people make buying choices, because that's what you're doing by reviewing it. You're helping people decide whether to buy it or not, and that is not at all about you and totally about them. So I've had it for about 4 or 5 days. I've had a chance to use it. I love the keyboard. I love the Force Touch trackpad. I would say that this is probably the best Mac for mainstream people. It's the closest Mac to being an iPad. The only reservation I have on it right now, the only reason I can't recommend it to everybody who is mainstream is the price tag, because it's new technology price. It's you're buying the future now, much like the original the original MacBook Air. If and when this tumbles down in price the way the MacBook Air does, I think this would just be the default MacBook for anybody who wants more than an iPad right now. But the way it is priced right now, I think it really is for people who really want that ultra-fast mobility and want that sort of futuristic technology. Ultra mobility, not ultra-fast mobility. And just want sort of all that technology today. Serenity, you tried it out at the event. Do you have any other thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I also got to play with it again today a little bit when I was in the store. I still think the Force Touch trackpad is magic, and I'm really, really happy that they put the Force Touch trackpad in the 13-inch MacBook Pro. I think that's a good sort of tester for people who need more powerful laptops but also want to get a head start on programming Force Touch APIs, because I think Force Touch is going to be a pretty big thing coming in the future. As for the price and in general the build, like it's a beautiful computer, but it is entirely superfluous for quite a few people. I think my same buying advice for the 2008 MacBook Air is evident for the 2015 MacBook, which is business travelers, great. The average person who has a bit of money to spend and really wants the latest and greatest shiny thing, great. If you already have a laptop, or if you aren't really looking for an ultra-portable laptop, well, for one thing, the MacBook Air is still out there, as is the MacBook Pro. So there's lots of other options available to you, unless you absolutely have to have the MacBook right now.
Yeah, I went back. Peter, you've gone through most of the generations of Mac. I tried to go back to typing on my Pro, and the keys felt loosey-goosey all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid I'm going to get my hands near this thing and it's going to spoil me for anything else until it comes to the other systems. I know when I'm going to be really jealous of you, Rene, and that's at WWDC. So if I react violently at some point, I apologize. I know you're going to put me on my ass anyway.
No, it's a loaner. I have to give it back. I won't have it by DubDub.
Well, that's probably just as well, because like I said, I probably would have to take it from you and lick it several times and so on. As far as the performance is concerned, the thing that people really need to keep in mind is that this is the first computer that we've seen from Apple that's ever used this generation of this particular iteration of the generation of Intel microprocessors too. It's got a Core M processor in it. Core M's been around for a while, but Apple's never used it before, and we're accustomed to, all things being equal, pretty powerful MacBooks. The MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro, you haven't been able to get anything with that less than a Core i5 processor, a dual-core processor in the i5 group for a while now. There were no i3 MacBook Airs or anything for a while now. So, you have to take it on face value, but I think that that's going to be a differentiating issue for a lot of people who are interested in this thing.
I've been using it, again, for 4 or 5 days now, and I haven't used... Well, I got Final Cut on it. Like, for Final Cut, for Xcode, for anything that hits it hard, it's not great. But when I'm browsing the web, when I'm writing, when I'm doing any of the things that normal people do every day, it's fantastic. And to your point about the Broadwell Y-type chipset, you literally charge this thing the way you charge an iPad. There is no giant MagSafe adapter and power brick and something. You plug in a little USB-C cable, which looks, not coincidentally, like a lightning cable, and that goes into something that looks like an iPad charger, and that goes into the wall. And it feels like an iOS device. It doesn't run iOS. It has a keyboard. It runs OS 10. But Ali, like when you hold this thing, you feel like this is the closest cousin a Mac has ever gotten to an iPad.
Yeah, I had very limited hands-on with it at the Apple Store, but yeah, I was very surprised by how light and how little it was. But the screen is amazing. I have yet to even join the Retina camp on any of my machines, so sigh. But yeah, I typed on the keyboard for a couple of seconds before someone pushed me out of the way to see it. But yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't mean.
Yeah, it was probably Peter. I mean, it had a giant. Whoever it was had a giant green dinosaur suit on, so it was probably Peter.
Yeah, it's real. I really like it a lot. The problem I had with the Air is that I would go to events and have to use Final Cut, and even the Air wasn't really fast enough for what I wanted for Final Cut, so I switched to the 13-inch MacBook Pro. But this is a great computer. I would recommend this computer if my mom ever wanted another MacBook. If most of the people I know wanted one, except for the price. When the price comes down in a couple generations, I really think this is going to be the go-to MacBook for a lot of people. And Apple knows that. When just hearing the tone of the event and speaking to them in the demo area, this is again a case of Apple going where the puck is going to be. It's the same as the unibody, as the battery, as the iPad Air. It costs more to get these things to market now because the technology is expensive. But as they get millions and millions of them shipped, all those prices come down. Intel's M-series Core M processors get more power. All this stuff just regulates. It just takes time. So right now you're paying a lot, but you're paying for the future. And we should have a full review up tomorrow. I'm working my fingers off to the force click bone to try and get it done, but I think it will be. All right, Peter, any last thoughts on the MacBook before we move on?
Nope.
No, Ren?
No, I really want this technology to come into Apple's other laptops, and I am a little. The one sad thing about the MacBook is that it is probably RIP 11-inch Air, and that hurts my soul a little bit because I love my little buddy.
When we first announced it, I was worried. The only reason I don't use the 11-inch Air is because 720 or whatever it is, 728, whatever the pixel height is, 768.
Too narrow for you.
Yeah, it's not enough height, especially on web pages, and I was worried this would be the same because by strict Retina standards, it would be 720 pixels high. But they're not pixel doubling for this Retina. They're doing what they do on the iPhone 6 Plus. They're actually
scaling.
They're going to 800 and scaling it down. You can actually go to 900, which is the same pixel size as the 13-inch MacBook Air, which is enough for me. It's the same as my 13-inch MacBook Pro, but it's almost the size of the 11-inch, Ren. It's like the difference isn't that much.
I'm skeptical.
You have to try it.
I will.
It's so light.
I did pick it up in the store today and got a little bit of lightness envy, and I say that as someone who has an 11-inch sitting right here. The 11-inch is great, but the 12-inch is very pretty.
Yeah, I couldn't use an 11-inch. I could use this, and that surprised me. That was one of my biggest surprises with this. All right, we're going to take another short break, and I am going to tell you about another one of our very favorite things, and that is PDF Pen Scan Plus. Is from the awesome team at Smile. And what PDF Pen Scan Plus does is it gives you the scanning and OCR power you need in a beautifully designed and defined app that's always with you. You point your iPhone or iPad camera to document, you hit the button, it's a receipt, a business card, anything. PDF Pen Scan Plus will take a scan, automatically crop it, prepare it for editing, all without a tap. I use it because when I travel, we have a barbaric expense system. I take photos and email it to the person who runs all our accounting stuff, and I just take the picture. I use this. I scan it. It goes in. It gets to him, and money appears. It's a wonderful system that I wish would expand to more things in my life. But you can perform OCR text recognition. You can create a searchable and shareable PDF directory on your iPhone or iPad. You can automatically upload to iCloud or Dropbox, so your scans are available on all your devices. They say the best scanner is the one that's with you, and this absolutely is the best scanner. Have any of you guys tried it recently?
I don't.
Pen, yes.
Everyone at once.
I don't use it regularly, but I have someone in the house that does regularly to scan contracts and get signatures and all that kinds of stuff, and she flips back and forth between that and Scanner Pro based on what she needs, and she loves it. So yeah, if you work with a lot of paperwork, it makes your life a lot easier.
Nice. So here's just a couple things that PDF Pen Scan Plus does. It's touch-free scanning on your iPhone or iPad camera. It detects page edges automatically. The camera automatically crops the scans. In-camera setting for color, grayscale, black and white. In-camera setting for page size, including legal, business card, receipt sizes, and more. There's a new version. I'm going to stop talking about it and just tell you to go buy it. It's $21.99 alone. PDF Pen Scan Plus is... Sorry, hold on a second. There's a PDF Business Kit Bundle. I apologize for that. PDF Business Kit Bundle with PDF Pen for iPhone and iPad, which is $21.99. Alone, PDF Pen Scan Plus is $6.99. And PDF Pen, which lets you do all sorts of fancy PDF editing, filling out forms, that kind of stuff, which, like Ali said, it's good for businesses and all sorts of occupations, is just $19.99. And I have absolutely no problem paying for this software, and I bought it the second it came out because I want more of this great kind of software, and the only way to get more great software is to pay for the great software that we have now. And over the course of the year, it pays for itself 10 times, 100 times over, especially if it's making your expenses easy or saving time on business. So once again, that is PDF Pen Scan Plus for iPhone and iPad from the awesome folks at Smile. Please download it. If you want, you can go to smilesoftware.com/iMore. That lets them know that you heard about it here, and it helps us out. But either way, just go download it and enjoy. Thank you so much, Smile. All right, watch try-ons. Friday came, the stores opened, the crowds, the masses rushed in. I know you guys have gone for them. Let's start with you, Ali. What happened with you?
The try-on is the first thing that got me excited for the Apple Watch. I've been a little skeptical up till this point. Not a huge fan of wearing watches, but the Apple Watch is a lot smaller than I expected it to be. In person anyway. Even the 42, I feel like I could probably deal with that. I'm glad I got the 38 because that's even better yet. But yeah, I really liked the experience. I liked that I was able to pick out a bunch of different bands and go ahead and try them. I will say there were a lot of people asking if you ordered the aluminum face, if you could order other like stainless steel bands and if they looked okay. It's really going to be a matter of preference. I ordered a Milanese loop and I got the sport watch, and I think it's fine. Obviously the pin is a different color. It's stainless instead of aluminum. It might bother some people. I don't think it's a big deal. I think Ren tried on the same combo and maybe ordered the same combo as well.
I did, and I think actually I got a chance to swap it out in store and take a look at it, and I posted a picture up on Twitter. I'm also going to have an article up on iMore later on Monday that's about just how it looks, and I really think that actually the sport with the other bands does not look as garish as you might think. The stainless steel pin is a little weird, but it's not so distracting as to diminish the quality of the band or the sort of stylistic use from far away. You can't even tell that the Milanese is not designed for the sport when you're more than a foot away. It just blends. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, we got fooled at the event. Someone was wearing it, and I said, "Oh, it's a stainless steel." They said, "No, this is the aluminum with the Milanese band," and I couldn't tell.
No, a friend of mine was wearing, who's an Apple engineer, was wearing the aluminum sport with a classic buckle, and I was really, really shocked when I actually realized that. I'm like, wait a second, that's a sport. Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it's let's break it down a little bit. So you go into the store, and first thing you see is a table right from the demo events, and it's got glass on top of it. And every watch, even if the store doesn't carry the edition, there's every watch. There's 38mm on one side, 42mm on the other side. They're facing out, and it goes from the colorful sport collection to the more leather and metals of the Apple Watch collection to the gold and rose gold
the beautiful
of the
editions.
They pretty much go exactly in order of price too. So if that's of concern to you, if you look down the line, it literally does go in order of price. So you have the stainless watches, and then all of the bands that are in that row. That's, I think, what the Link bracelet is the most expensive, so that will be off to your right. And then I think the Milanese is, the cheapest option minus the sport.
$150, I think.
Yeah, it's the sports and the Milanese, and the Black Link is at the very end.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's like Price is Right game. And now I want a Price is Right game, Ali, where it's like, you need to stop the little guy when it gets to a watch you can actually afford without going over.
I know, yeah, pretty much.
The watch price is right. And then the next table, it's a regular Apple table with mats on it, but it's got these modified iPad minis that have like the camera taken out and a bunch of other stuff taken out, and they're in this pedestal, this white pedestal that has a watch with the band looped through it, so you can't just pull the watch off and run. I mean, we tried, and nothing to go so. But you can try it out, and they coordinate the iPad with what's happening on the watch. So if you're waiting, if you don't have anyone to deal with right now, you can go through and sort of explore, and it's not fully functional, like screen capture is turned off, and some of the settings are turned off, and there's no third-party apps. But Ren, it wasn't too different than what we got to try at the event.
No, not at all. what I really liked about this, in contrast to the event, is that during the event it was all very, very rushed and very hectic and like, oh, I gotta take pictures and be crazy. And this time, I still took pictures, but I actually took time to kind of play with the interface and actually feel the resistance of the digital crown. I was really lucky in that the store I went to had open appointments the entire day, so it was actually really empty. I also went like right after lunch, so there just weren't that many people in this already small Apple store. So I got to spend, a full 30 minutes with my try-on advisor, who was great. And as a result, I was like, oh, can I try on these? Can I try on those? And I ended up trying on a whole bunch more band and watch combinations than I had originally kind of signed up to test. P.S. If you favorite watch combinations in the Apple Store, when you make your appointment, your advisee will be able to see those and have those ready for you. So that's a fun thing. So if you want to go into your appointment super prepared, favorite your special watch combinations. But yeah, I mean, my appointment was nice and smooth, and being able to, especially with a sort of semi-empty store. I've heard that they had Siri disabled on some demo units, but the demo unit I tried had Siri working flawlessly, which is impressive. I think Siri works better on the watch than it does on my iPhone 6, which makes me a little sad. But I was able to talk at about 3.5 feet away from I wasn't even leaning into where the watch was positioned on the display table. It was over there, and I was standing straight up, and I just pressed the digital crown in, and I just started talking, and I asked it for directions to a couple different places. I tried to get it to text people, and then I just had it do some straight dictation, and it worked really, really well.
The only thing I think that bothered me was, since the models that you tried on weren't active, you couldn't feel the touch, the force touch, or what is it called in the watch?
Yeah,
haptics.
Haptic.
Yeah.
So
I would have liked to be able to see what that feels like, because
you should have been able to. The demo loop includes it.
Yeah, the demo does include a varying sensation of the various taps that it gives on your wrist.
The one that you could try?
The one that you try, the demo, when it loops around, one of the first ones it does.
Oh, the ones you tried on?
Yeah.
Those were dead units. They weren't.
They didn't have a demo on them?
Units turned on or powered on at all. They had the demo units that were tied to the table with the iPad.
You're supposed to turn those on, Allie. Like they have to turn them on when they give them to you.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
I would go back.
Well, tisk to your try-on person. Mine.
All of them were like that at the Chicago store.
Yeah. Well, so my try-on person, they come out dead, and then you just have to hold the friends button to turn them on, and then they go into their crazy preset demo loop. At least at the store that I went to.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went Saturday, and everyone that I saw that was trying them on, you couldn't use them. Our advisor actually tried to turn it on. He said, "Oh no, the demos don't work. They're just for try-on purposes."
Oh. Yeah, no, they work. So. Yeah, I would go back there and turn them on, Allie.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to a different. Well, there's a store. We just went because we were in Chicago, so we went to that store. There's a store that's about a little bit closer to me here, so I'll go to that one and see.
Allie, you deserve your tactic.
I got shafted.
I know.
You did.
Oh, it's so depressing. All right, so Allie, which watches did you try on?
I tried on the Silver Sport with the white band, and then I also tried on a plethora of other bands. Even on a Saturday in downtown Chicago, it really was not that crazy. We were able to walk right in and play with the demo units until our appointment, and so I tried on. I really like the classic buckle a lot more than I thought I would. It's very light. It's very thin. I don't like really thick. I'm wearing a Garmin activity tracker right now, and I hate how thick this band is, and that's my problem with most watches. I just don't like the bands, and I was really surprised with how high quality the bands that Apple has come out with are. My favorites are probably the Milanese and the classic buckle, so I ordered a Milanese on launch in addition to the Silver Sport and the white band.
Well, don't spoil it yet. I'm going to ask you that next. No spoilers.
Okay.
All right, so Ren, any last thoughts? I thought the process in general was there. Now there is a lot of confusion because not all Apple customer service reps, at the end of the day, even if Apple's sometimes don't always have accurate information, and there's been things like telling people that they can't use it without their iPhone, which isn't true, or that you can't mix and match bands within the same size, which isn't true. But I thought overall the way Apple staged the process, while not exactly Disney-like, was very savvy because you could walk in and you get to see all the watches first, then you get to like play around with the little kiosk things, and then you get to try it. So it goes from seeing to learning to touching, and that to me was very good stagecraft.
Yes, I think the build-up was very nice, and I do think it varies between store to store and also the busyness of the store.
Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like your best bet, if you really want some personal one-on-one time with the watch to kind of figure out and feel how it works, is to go to a smaller Apple store. Now, obviously, not everybody has that option, but if you do live in a metropolitan community with several Apple stores, I recommend going to the one furthest out in the boonies, just so you have a chance to really get some time with it and play with it. And yeah, the associates may not always be perfect, but that said, I really do think that they're trying their hardest to sort of get everybody up to speed. I really enjoyed going in and having some hands-on time with it, though. It's a little bit different than your traditional Apple Store experience because they aren't just there for you to play with. You know, you do have to make an appointment to come in. But the actual appointment time is so worth it, and really is, I think, going to help sell a lot of these watches.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. We have a question from Raid194. He wants some advice. I want to know whether to get the Apple. I want to get the Apple Watch, but I don't know whether I should get it now or wait for the second generation. I know Apple is great with first-gen products, but it's better with second-gen products. We actually have this. Actually, I should recommend our buyer's guide, imore.com/apple-watch-buyers-guide. We have all of this covered. I'll give my opinion, then I'm curious to hear what you guys think. For me, first generation Apple devices, I have my first iPhone, my first iPad, I think the first MacBook Air there somewhere, the first Apple TV. I like them because they're first generation things, and for me it's a good collector's item. But regardless of what you think, it just depends on what's more important to you. You can always wait. The first iPhone didn't have 3G or GPS. The second one didn't have video recording. The third one didn't have a Retina display. The one after that didn't have LTE. The one after that didn't have Touch ID. You can always find an excuse to wait. And you'll always get something better if you wait. But for $350, which is essentially $1 a day, you can have it a year earlier and try it and be part of the process of discovering it. And yes, the second gen will be better, but you get to be part of what makes it better. You know, like the original iPad versus the iPad 2. We still had an iPad for a year. A lot of people still use those iPads. Ren, any advice on generation hopping?
I don't know if I have any advice, actually.
Peter, Allie?
Well, I think that if you can justify to yourself to get the watch now, or if you've got a use case where the watch is really going to help you out, that's great. Otherwise, I don't think that there's anything wrong with sitting this generation out. If you have to ask yourself, is this going to be worth it to me? Figure that out based on how you're going to use the device. But yeah, I don't think anybody should buy anything just for the sake of having it before anybody else does on their block. That's just silly.
You say that after you said you're going to knock me out and take my MacBook.
MacBooks are different.
Yeah, but taking something and paying for it are two entirely different things.
One thing Allie's talked about before is a bunch of our readers now get iPhones every year by selling their old iPhone to sort of reduce the cost. You think that'll happen with Apple Watches, Allie? You can sell
probably
one to pay for the next?
Yeah, I'm sure it will. And I mean, to the reader's question, I get asked this question by family and friends, and I'm sure you guys do. They bombard us right before. Should I get this? Should I not get this? And my answer is always, I don't know. Will you use it? Do you have a use case for it? Because my reasons are not the same as your reasons. So it's a personal decision figuring out whether or not you need something, or if it's just a want, or if you have a real use case for it. So I can't answer that question for you. Renee can't. None of us can. We can give you the best advice, but this is a first-gen product, so there's nothing else to get. There's nothing else for us to recommend to you. So it's really a personal decision, especially with watches, because they're personal devices.
If we answer, we're just trolling you.
My general advice is always just go in and try it on. See if it's something that fits your lifestyle, and talk to an Apple sales associate. Because the specialists don't work on commission, and they're there specifically to ask questions about what you do in your life that might be reasonable for this technology.
All right, on that note, we're going to take our final break, and I'm going to tell you about Ex Machina, which is a movie, a sci-fi thriller directed by the writer of Sunshine and 28 Days Later. The Telegraph calls it bewitchingly smart science fiction. The Daily Mirror declares it an instant classic. It stars Oscar Isaac, Domhnall Gleeson, and Alicia Vikander, and I hope I'm pronouncing all their names right because they have sci-fi powers and will hurt me if not. Ex Machina opens in select theaters in New York and LA on April 10th. More cities and theaters every week thereafter. I like the idea of this movie. I like sci-fi movies. I like watching all these kinds of movies based on the trailer, which for the video people I will insert here. I think it looks terrific, and I'm definitely going to catch it because anytime the robots take us out, I think we had it coming. Just do. Peter, the kaiju can save us from the robots?
Or the robots can save us from the kaiju, depending on which side of that particular political argument you lie on.
Kaiju and robots are the two parties in the American system. Have I got that correctly?
That is correct.
All right, good. So once again, go see Ex Machina. It is in movie theaters now, rolling out to a place near you, hopefully very, very soon. All right, now the moment of truth. We want to know what everybody got. There's rumors that Apple has sold almost 1 million of these. Apple hasn't said anything yet, but based on the ordering process alone, either there were very few or they sold a lot. So let's talk a little bit about the pre-order process, and what all you guys got. Peter, let's start with you. Which one was your ultimate choice?
42 millimeter space gray. I went with what I'm finding out to be a very popular model. Based on what other people are saying. But space gray has always sort of suited my temperament and my personality best of any of the iPhone colors. And I wanted to get something that would complement that, and something that would be sort of understated and basic. And quite frankly, I was going to get a sports model one way or the other, simply because the rest of them are more expensive than I really can justify. So that's it. That's why I went the direction that I did.
Awesome. I forgot to mention my mom went to her tryout appointment today, and she loved it. She thought the watch was stunning, much more fashionable than she imagined. She thought the build quality was spectacular. She loved the looks, the textures of the bands. She wants to buy many of the bands now. But she also said something that was really interesting to me. My mom has arthritis, and she has a really hard time putting jewelry on now, yet she found most of the Apple bands really easy, especially the loop bands, to put on and take off. And this is an accessibility feature that didn't even occur to me. We had Steve Aquino write a wonderful article for us about Apple Watch accessibility, but I didn't realize the bands themselves were really accessible. So kudos, again, Apple, for paying attention to that. Sorry, tangent. Serenity, what did you go with, and how was your ordering?
My ordering was seamless thanks to the Apple Store app, other than having to wake up at 2:55 in the morning on my boyfriend's birthday, where I was like, I'm sorry, I'm waking you up, but I have to press a button. And he's like, are you at least getting me the Apple Watch? No, just for me, sorry. I'm a horrible person. Anyway, yeah, it was really simple with the Apple Store app. Even though I had a minor heart attack because I was sending it to my parents' place in California, which was not in the Apple Pay address field, so I had to really quickly fill that out while hoping that my place in line would still exist and I wouldn't get shunted to June or something. But Apple Pay is magical, especially at 3 in the morning. I kind of worry that I'm going to sleep purchase more things. I ended up going with the 38 Sport for the first generation with a white sport band. I actually second-guessed myself. I was originally going to go with the light blue, and I decided to go white at the last minute. And after trying on the white in person, I think I'm actually pretty happy with that. I think it's a nice neutral color that will go pretty well with most of the things that I wear when I'm doing sport-related activities. And then I got the Milanese loop as an add-on band accessory, which now that I've tried it in the store, I feel very happy about.
Nice. Allie?
I ordered the exact same thing Serenity did, and we did not plan that.
We call each other in the morning.
We did have a minor debate, I think, the day before, where we were like, well, what are we getting?
Yeah,
coordination was unintended.
Because I still didn't know. I think I texted her, like, FML. I still don't know. I have no idea what I'm going to get.
Yep.
So for a first gen, I knew I was going to go with the Sport because, again, personal decision, I'm not the type of person to wear watches. I get bored of them after about a week or two, and they never see my wrist again. I bought a Pebble, and I kid you not, I wore it twice. So I'm still a little skeptical about whether or not I'll be disciplined enough to wear it or find a reason to wear it that often. I'm hoping I do and that it's not more of a distraction than my phone already is. So that being said, that's why I went with the Sport Face. I almost ordered a stainless, but I said no, I'm just going to get the Sport, and I did the white band, and I tried it on as well, and I'm glad I went with that. I do worry about the white band yellowing. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I figured it.
Apple's good with their plastics now.
Yeah, they are. For $49, I think I could handle that. So.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. So I have this terrible problem. Like if I'm at a restaurant, I never know what I'm going to eat, and then when the waitress asks, I just blurt something out at random, and sometimes that works. And I was very much the same with the Apple Watch because I got to see them a couple times, and I go through this perseveration where I want to get the black stainless steel, but then that doesn't go with as many bands, so I might as well get the silver stainless steel, but then I might as well save money and get the silver sport model, and then the bands that I want, but then I like the construction, I think the materials better on this day, and first, anyway, so what happened was I did that, I had a couple of them saved in the app, I went there and I decided it's a first edition, it is a Johnny Ive Mark Newsom first edition, I'm going to go a little big before I go home, so I got the black stainless steel with the black stainless steel loop bands, it's the only option with the black stainless steel, and then on the side I got the black leather loop and the black sport band, and I got the Milanese too, even though I'm not sure it's going to go with the black casing, we'll see, and that way, sort of like, wine, you can do the pairings you want for the activities that you're going to have. And my process also, like the website wasn't loading for me, but the app loaded immediately. I bought that. I actually didn't see the leather loop there, and then when I was at the store for the try-ons, the Apple representative said, no, it's absolutely available there, and I liked it, so I added more loops. So I don't know how many I ended up ordering, but way too many. I just hope that they're compatible with the next generation.
That's my big thing, and that's why I think I didn't go too crazy with the bands, because I know I'll have Hulk anger rage if I buy all these bands and then they don't work on whatever I get next year. I would think for something like a watch, Apple would probably stick to the same pin construction. I would hope so.
I figure, there's a reason they built this, and they're not. Yeah, they're usually good about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and even with the phones, it's every other year, so I figure we'll be safe for at least another year.
And I got to have an especially fun Apple Watch try-on because as I was standing there with Jim Dalrymple, Tim Cook crashed the place, which was a lot of fun. And
you mean that well-bearded man?
That well-bearded man who then people were like, "Whoa, why is that hobo attacking Tim Cook?" I think that was you, Peter.
In point of fact, it was.
But yeah, Palo Alto was really good for the try-ons, and Mark Guim from Mobile Nations went down to New York City, Fifth Avenue, and shot some video for us. So we have all of that, pictures and video and stuff up on the site. Apple does these events really well. They have a big team, they have a really good team, and they're very good at coordinating these things. So
I feel like this was a very well organized event for Apple. Like as far as like pre-orders, I mean for the 6 and 6 Plus, I was awake for at least an hour and a half trying to get a pre-order through. I feel like this wasn't as bad, and then in store it wasn't as bad. So I really like, and I think Peter wrote something about Angela Arendt saying something about mitigating crowds or lineups. I don't know, but I like this much better, being able to walk in and try things on and see things and not have the chaos that comes with iPhone launches.
Also, no scalpers.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
I love that. And also, Allie, to your point, 2 words, no contracts. Not having to deal with the cellular providers and provide, authorization for subsidies and all of that.
That's true.
That helps a lot with their internal
navigation. That depends on the carrier servers for those orders to go through, and they don't care.
They're running on Windows XP and they're proud.
They never know. They never realize just how big the demand's going to be. So I think it was a fantastic move by Apple to limit them to online only. It's so much simpler, and I think people are much happier to just see the fact, 1 million people order this, so I won't get my watch until May, and that sucks, but at least I know, and I'm not hammering on the website for 2 hours.
Well, and the Apple Store app is a really nice ordering experience.
It is.
I think that's even how I got my 6 Plus or 6 order through, was through the app, because the website just died in a fire somewhere and never came out. But I really hope that Apple expands upon that, because it kind of adds to the ease of ordering Apple products and not having to have a computer to even do any of that. I'd like to just be able, I always get my laptop during launches because I never, Control or Command R, you're just refreshing. But I'd really like to just be able to roll over and grab my phone and know that an order can go through without actually having to get out of bed, and maybe that's asking a lot.
I'd like to say, Siri, make sure I get this watch, and then I just can go back to sleep. And then Siri.
That would be good.
Yeah.
I'm obviously not asking a lot compared to Rene.
All right, so this edition, one more time, of the iMore Show was brought to you by Ex Machina, sci-fi thriller directed by the writer of Sunshine and 28 Days Later. It is in theaters in New York and LA starting April 10th. More cities and theaters every week thereafter. Please do go and check it out. Tell them iMore sent you. Also brought to you by lynda.com. Lynda.com is for problem solvers, for the curious, for people who want to make things happen. Maybe you want to master Excel or negotiation tactics, build a website, boost your Photoshop skills. Go to lynda.com and feed your curious mind. You can get a free 10-day trial. Whether you're looking to become an expert, you're passionate about a hobby, or just want to learn something new, go to lynda.com/imore, lynda.com/imore, and get your free 10-day trial. Allie, if people want to find you on the interwebs, where can they go?
I am at iMuggle on all of the social things and on iMore every day.
Peter Cohen?
At Flarg, F as in Frank, L-A-R-G-H on all the social things.
There's an
and
H at the end?
There is indeed, Rene.
We'll get it tattooed on your wrist underneath your Apple Watch.
I'll get a setup for that immediately.
I want a special Flarg emoji from Apple for the Apple Watch. And, of course, on imore.com.
Nice. Ren?
At Settern, S-E-T-T-E-R-N, at all of the things, including Twitter and Instagram, and on imore.com. Hopefully more today. Photos, how-tos, all of the photos, how-tos.
So many photos how-tos. For that, you can go to imore.com/photos-os-x. It's pronounced 10, but it's actually written X. /Apple-Watch. We'll have all this in the show notes. So you don't have to remember it. We're going to be doing the shows a little bit helter-skelter for the next couple weeks because I'm going to San Diego. Serenity is going to Yosemite. There's going to be more watch craziness going on, but we'll keep everyone up to date whenever we record them. Serenity, when is Yosemite?
Yosemite starts, I believe, on April 20th and goes from the 20th to the 23rd. It is put on by CocoConf, which is a fabulous organization for doing conferences, and they decided that this year, they're going to have a conference in Yosemite, California to commemorate the release of OS X Yosemite and talk about Apple's products. I'm really, really excited to go and be able to speak along with a large group of really, really awesome people, including Jim, I believe, as well. Yeah, Jim Dalrymple is going.
Matt Grants, Jason Snell.
Yeah, that's right. Jason is going. Nevin is going, as well as his wife, Krista Mergen, who is an interface designer for Rogue Amoeba. There are lots of really cool people. I think there are maybe like 1 or 2 tickets left. I would check.
There's also annoying people like Guy English, but you can.
I know, but him. Yeah. Guy. That dude.
That guy.
It's so cool because like we're going to talk about really good technology, and they're also integrating the beauty of Yosemite by asking us to go on walks and things like that in between the conference. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good time, and the best part, it ends the day before the Apple Watch release. So I'm going to drive home that night and then wake up bright and early to get myself my Apple Watch. Fingers crossed.
Woo-hoo. Yeah, mine arrives mid-May. We'll see how that happens.
Oh no.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to everyone who watched us. You can find a recording of this show on YouTube. youtube.com/iMoreVideo, or in iTunes. Just look for the iMore Show. You guys are the best community on the web. We thank you so much for joining us. If you haven't recently, please go to iTunes. Please leave a review, leave a rating. It helps them know that you like the show, and then they'll feature us, and we'll get more awesome people like you. Everyone, have a great day, and enjoy your Apple Watch try-ons.